Okay, so we're gonna look at creating the shaft support. So the shaft support is in chapter 6. This is one of the assignments from assignment number 3. And as we look at this part, you're gonna notice that it's in millimeters. So make sure that when you start your template, you pull up your millimeter template. It is telling us that the radius of 40 arcs at the base share the same center. So this arc right here and the arc on the opposite side share the same center. So in the very middle here, that's basically a diameter of 80 around. So I'll show you how I'm going to construct that. So the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to do the base or the footprint first, and that's going to be off of the top plane. Then I think I'm going to go off of the right plane and create the tube kind of suspended in air with a dimension. It'll be fully defined. But then I'm going to create then the gusset, if you would, or the ribs going up to and being tangent to the outside of that tube. Okay. Probably the center of the base. Yep, and probably the bottom, I'm thinking. Okay. All right. So let me go over to SolidWorks. So again, I'm gonna do that bottom part first, and I'm gonna be drawing that on the top plane. So I'm gonna do an extrude boss base. I'm gonna select the top plane, and I'm gonna start by, as I look straight down on this, I'm gonna start by a circle here that's a diameter of 80 millimeters, and then I'm gonna do the outsides on either side. So this is going to be a circle. The center is going to be at my origin. Create that radius and smart dimension that to be 80. Okay. So that's kind of like, if you would, the center as we're looking down at it. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to create then the radiuses on the sides here. Okay. And this is going to be a radius of 22, so a diameter of 44. Okay, so that's on that side. And then I'm going to, I don't know if I want to mirror it or not. I will, might as well use the capabilities. And then I'm going to add a relation. I need to add a relation for the center of the circle I just created to the origin. Oops. Add a relation. Center to origin, and I want those to be horizontal to one another. Okay. And then I'm going to add a line from one to the other. Notice that it made it coincident and tangent at the top here, but only coincident over here. So I need to add a relation to that line and that arc to be tangent. So it added that. So make sure both the tangent and the coincident are there. And then I'm going to do that very same thing to the bottom down here. So again, did the tangent and the coincident here and the tangent and the coincident there. So perfect. Now I'm going to get rid of the part here I don't need. So I'm going to trim away that. I'm going to leave this circle right here right now. And then I'm going to add the dimension, smart dimension, from this center to the origin. This is going to be 50. Okay. Because then it's 100 between the two. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to mirror these three entities to be on the other side. So I'm going to do mirror entities. I'm going to select the line, the arc, and the line. And I'm going to say, and it needs to be, oh, I hit move. I'm so sorry. Not move. I wanted mirror, 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 mirror. So it needs to be on the top, not on the bottom. Mirror entities here, here, and here. And we want to mirror about, and then make sure that copy is there because we want to leave the copy behind. And I want to mirror about. Now, I want to mirror about, I'm going to click on my part 2 and my graphics area, and I want to determine which plane I'm going to go around. So it's not going to be the top plane. It's not going to be the front plane. The right plane is going to be my mirror line. So I'm going to click on my right plane. I see the profile. That's exactly what I want. And I'm going to say, okay. All right, cool. It is fully defined, but I do need to get rid of the parts of this arc that I don't want anymore. So I'm going to do my last trim here from this side all the way across that side and release. And then, okay. And I'm still fully defined at that point. Okay. So, so creating that footprint first, fully defined. Now I'm ready to exit my sketch. And the thickness here is 18 millimeters. So it's a blind, 18 thick, and going straight up is fine. And okay, there we go. So that's going to be my foot, or my, I'm going to call it the base. Okay, there's my base. If I expand that out, my sketch is fully defined. All right, doesn't hurt to do a quick save as. And I'm in module 3, and this is the shaft support. Okay, now I'm going to add the holes to either side here. Now you could use the hole wizard if you wanted to. It's really a horse or piece, especially when you only have 1 or 2 holes. If you start having a lot of holes or a hole pattern, sometimes it's kind of nice to put it in as the hole wizard, but I'm going to do it as an extrude cut. I tend to default to that. On this plane, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to share the same center as that arc. So I want to activate it by hovering over it and then going to the center. Katie. Oh, then you missed something. You'll have to check what you know, if there's maybe a relation or so. I'm going to finish this up and I can always look. Okay. And I'm going to do a 15. Okay. And so that's my first hole. So, I'm going to just put the one in and then I'm going to mirror it as a feature afterwards. Now it is fully defined because I'm sharing the same center as one of the arcs from the previous feature that was already fully defined. So it knows exactly where that is. That's why I don't have to add any additional dimensions. So I can exit here. And then I'll notice I want to make sure that my cut is going in the right direction, but I do want to change it from blind to through all. And then I'm going to hit OK. So now this is, I'm going to rename this one. This is my 15 millimeter, I'm going to do small millimeter diameter hole. And then now I'm going to mirror it over on the other side as well. So I'm going to select it at the feature level. So notice that I'm a feature this time, and I'm going to go to the mirror command. And now I have that hole selected and it wants to know what's the mirror face. So I need to expand this out again and hover over what would be the right plane, which will again be the mirror plane here. I see my preview and I can say, okay, that looks good. So that's going to be, I'm going to do a quick save and that's my base. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do, if I look at my part, I'm going to add the tube up here. I'm going to kind of suspend it in air, but it's going to be fully defined because there'll be a dimension from the bottom. So, so I'm going to add that next. Now I am going to draw this on. So this is my top plane here. I'm going to be drawing it on my right plane because I'm going to be looking at the right side. The front plane would be looking in this direction, but I want to look this way. So I'm going to create the tube and I'm going to then do the extrude as a mid plane. So now I'm going to do an extrude boss base. I'm going to go on my right plane. I want to be on the right plane. I don't want to select any of these surfaces. I want to be on the right plane. And now I'm looking down the side of it. Okay. So I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to draw my circles for my tube in line with the origin, but I will have to add a relation for the center, not the arc. Hold on, I'm going to hit escape. I had that selected. So I'm going to do that again. Add a relation for the center to the origin, those two to be vertical. So they're in line with one another. I'm going to add a smart dimension And I'm gonna do this as my OD, so this is gonna be 46. And then I'm gonna add another dimension from the, whoopsie. I'll go from the origin up to that center. And that's gonna be 58. Okay. There we go. Now, I'm gonna do one more circle on the inside. So let's create this tube. And then that inside is gonna be 30. There we go. So I'm fully defined. Oopsie. Go down. I'm fully defined. This is in line with the origin. And then I have my dimension from the bottom up. Okay, so that sets exactly where that location is. And I have my diameters for each. So I can exit this sketch. Now, I'm going to rotate this. I sketched on the right plane. So I'm going to change this from blind to a mid plane. And the total width here is 40. So it is going to evenly distribute it and be centered on that right plane to be a total distance of 40. Okay. So like I said, this is suspended, if you would, in air right now. So I'm going to rename this as my tube. Oops. Okay. And we'll do a file save. All right. So now the last feature is going to be adding. Oh, you know what? I'm looking, that looks a little taller. I think my distance, I went the 58 from the bottom of the part. I think it goes from the top of this face. I think it goes from this face, not this face. Let me go back to my tube and edit that sketch. So this dimension, I'm actually going to delete out, and we're going to change that smart dimension from the center to the top of that to be 58. Sorry about that. Yeah, that looks much more in proportion. And as I look more closely, it definitely is from the top of that foot. Okay, so I changed that. I can exit. It'll still update and I'm good to go. Great. So now I am ready to add these two parts here. Okay, so to do that, I am going to go back over here and I am going to sketch again on the right plane. The right plane is going right through the middle here. Okay, right through the middle. So I'm going to do a, it's going to be an extrude boss base again. I'm going to sketch on, I'm not going to select anything here. I'm going to sketch on the right plane because I want to be right down the middle. And then I'm going to do a mid plane again for that thickness. So now I am going to add a line. It's going to start right about there. And then it's going to go up to side of that part, right? Now, in this case, you'll notice that it didn't assume tangent. So what I need to do is make sure everything is unselected here. And I need to convert, and that's why it didn't. I need to convert the outside circle, okay, to be in my sketch so I can use it if I, as its arc. So I'm going to do a convert entities, the outside, and I'm going to say, okay. So I want this outside diameter to be part of my sketch. And then I'm going to add a relation from this line to that arc to be tangent. There we go. And now it made it nice and tangent. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to do a line from right about, I don't know, there-ish, and go here. Now this time, because the line, the arc was converted, it now recognized it and it made it tangent and coincident. So I don't have to add a relation this time. Okay. So now it has to be a closed loop for me to be able to extrude this. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to grab a line. I'm going to do the end point of that line to the end point of that line to close that up at the bottom. Bye, Paul. And then I'm also going to get rid of this top part because right now it's attached to the top. I only need this bottom arc and then kind of like this triangle-y part. So I'm going to trim away the top part of that arc so that the only thing in my sketch, do you see that, is this bottom arc and then the two lines and the bottom line. Okay. And I'll re-look at this straight on. Okay. Now I need to identify my lines down here, the width. So my smart dimension, I'm gonna go from this bottom point to this bottom point, and that dimension is 67, right? But I also need it centered and tied to our origin. So I am gonna go from the origin to one of those sides, horizontal, and it has to be half of 67. They don't give us this dimension, but this is how we are able to determine that it is centered. So 67 divided by 2 is 33.5. There we go. Now I'm fully defined because now I'm tied to the origin and I have that, I have those two dimensions. So again, you're going to have to give it the clue, like how to center that 67. Okay. All right. So now since I'm fully defined, I can exit here and I want to extrude. It's still going to be a midplane, but this time my midplane extrude is going to be 18 millimeters. And that comes right from the print. So it's going to be 18 right there. Yeah. Do you see it on there? So it's this, yeah, this dimension right there. Okay. So if I go back to SolidWorks here, kind of perusing, I think we got all the features in, don't we? There's no, it doesn't look like there's any radiuses. So the last part of this would be adding the material. I'm going to try to position this so I can kind of see. I don't know if I'm going to, maybe like right about there. I need to add material to this. So I have to go back to my assignment. Remember, I added this. The problem itself doesn't have this. So the shaft support is going to be gray cast iron underneath the iron category. So if we go to material, left click, right click, edit material, we're going to collapse the steel. We're going to open up the iron, and it's just going to be the regular gray cast iron. Make sure that your units are English. Oh no, make sure your units are metric for this one. This one has to be, we'll do the, it really doesn't matter. I'll do the SI in Pascals because that's what we usually use for, yeah, apply there. One of the metrics, it's fine. So now it changed the color, but before we go, even though we changed the material, we want to go to evaluate, mass properties, and pull up the dialog box so that we can see the volume and then the mass as well. Okay. And then you'll take your screenshot from the upper left-hand corner. Oops. You know what? I forgot. I've got to rename over here. I'm going to close that dialog box. I'm going to go back over here. I got to rename. Got to do what I tell you guys to do. I'm going to call this the gusset. And then I'll pull that back out, the mass properties. And make sure that you have your sketches all expanded so that I can see that they're fully defined. And then you're going to grab your screenshot across a full screen here, including that dialog box. Okay. So any questions on that one? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up and I will stop the